We appreciate you joining us today. We are beginning our show with some big primary election results that could have a major impact on the midterms. Those, by the way, now just 90 days away. The battleground state of Michigan saw a big win for Democratic progressives, among them former public health official Abdul El-Sayed. NBC News projects El-Sayed won his Senate primary against establishment-supported Congresswoman Haley Stevens. El-Sayed overcame a near $65 million onslaught of outside money, criticizing Stevens for the money she did receive from these corporate PACs, including more than $30 million from a group affiliated with the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Well, on the Republican side, despite some sagging poll numbers, it was still a good night for Trump-backed candidates. NBC News projects Ty Masterson, the Kansas State Senate president, won his party's nomination in the state's race for governor. NBC News correspondent Chris Pallone joins us now with more on all of this. Hi, Chris. Good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you. Control of Congress, of course, a big prize this fall. Republicans hoping to maintain majorities in both chambers to continue enacting President Trump's agenda. Democrats trying to capitalize on the president's low approval ratings to take back the House and perhaps even the Senate to slow down the MAGA movement.
This morning, a big win for Democratic Party progressives in a key battleground state. NBC News projecting Michigan Democrats chose Abdul El-Sayed to be their nominee for Senate over the establishment favorite, Representative Haley Stevens. The epidemiologist campaigned with prominent far-left Democrats, running on a platform of providing Medicare for all and abolishing ICE.
We can't control the past 250 years. What we can do is build the next 250.
The race closely watched by Republicans as they try to snatch an open Senate seat now held by a Democrat. President Trump commenting to reporters before the race was called.
I have not found out who won the election tonight with Abdul. Who won?
It looks like it's going to be a long night.
Oh, really? Ooh, that's interesting.
Progressives are also claiming victory in a key Michigan House primary, with activist William Lawrence defeating two Democratic challengers. And in Missouri, incumbent Representative Wesley Bell beat back a challenge from former Congresswoman Cori Bush in a race largely contested over support for Israel.
We can disagree over here, but we can still do the work. We can disagree over there, but we can still do the work. Because progressives are supposed to make progress.
For Republicans, aligning with President Trump continues to be a good strategy.
I can't go without thanking President Trump. He's so fun.
Trump-backed State Senator Ty Masterson will try to win back the Kansas governor's office for Republicans this fall after defeating 6 other candidates.
And to retake the House, Democrats need to add 3 seats this fall, and to take back the Senate as well, Democrats would need to pick up 4 seats there, which would be extremely difficult if they don't win that Michigan seat held now by retiring Senator Gary Peters. Savannah.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for kicking us off this hour. Big news. Well, let's dig a little deeper into some of these results and what they might mean for the upcoming midterms with the boss of the big board, NBC News chief data analyst Steve Kornacki. Hey, Steve.
American voters in 5 states hit the polls on Tuesday, and I've got some major results to share with you, starting in the state of Michigan, where Abdul El-Sayed has won the Democratic primary for the United States Senate. He defeats Congresswoman Haley Stevens. This was a very close race here. You can see there are still a scattering of votes to be counted, but El-Sayed currently leading Stevens by 2 points here. He will be the Democratic nominee this November, and he will face off against the Republican, Mike Rogers. He won his primary unopposed tonight. Rogers, a former congressman, he ran for the United States Senate in this state against Alyssa Slotkin in 2024. He narrowly lost. He will be now facing off in his second Senate campaign against El-Sayed. The backdrop of this race, which will be one of the most closely watched races this November, is that this is a state that Donald Trump won. It's a swing state. Trump carried it by a point over Kamala Harris in 2024, and Democrats in nominating Abdul El-Sayed, a candidate who was backed by Bernie Sanders, who ran on certainly a far-left progressive platform. Can a candidate as far to the left as El-Sayed win a state like Michigan? We have seen a host of these left-wing candidates win primaries this year in deep blue districts, deep blue cities, where the general election is a foregone conclusion. It's not a foregone conclusion in Michigan. This will be a test. Can El-Sayed, can his ideology win in a state that went for Donald Trump by a point? Other major races here tonight in Michigan, the governor's race. Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State, she will be the Democratic candidate for governor, and she will be facing off, trying to succeed two-term Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who's not running for re-election. She will be facing off against John James. John James, a congressman from Macomb County, a Republican who ran with the endorsement of Donald Trump. He wins the Republican primary tonight over Perry Johnson. It will be James. It will be Benson. That will be the governor's race. In the congressional races, a significant result in Michigan's 7th district tonight here. William Lawrence, again, a progressive insurgent candidate, winning the nomination in this, a swing district that Donald Trump carried by a point in 2024. Lawrence wins this primary tonight and will face off in the fall against freshman Republican Tom Barrett. This is a congressional district version of the question that's been raised about El-Sayed in the Senate race. Can a candidate as far to the left as Lawrence win in a district that Donald Trump won by a point in 2024? So big, momentous results out of Michigan tonight that squarely put this state in the spotlight in November, both in terms of the Senate race, which will have massive implications for control of the United States Senate, and in this House race, which could have big implications for control of the United States House of Representatives.
All right, Steve Kornacki, thanks so much. Well, this morning we are learning that a man was arrested on Sunday at President Trump's golf course near Los Angeles after he appeared to be monitoring security preparations just days before the president's fundraiser there, according to authorities. Well, yesterday, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office Department said that 38-year-old, his name is Janine John Taylor, he was spotted by plainclothes federal agents taking photos and video. They also say he was found to have a magazine loaded with what's called armor-piercing hollow point ammunition. That was in his pocket. Authorities later recovered a loaded pistol in his car. A search of his home turned up multiple weapons, including what the Sheriff's Department called an illegally modified assault rifle. Taylor now faces several weapons-related charges in addition to an earlier robbery charge from 2025. On Monday, he pleaded not guilty to all charges, and his bail was set at $250,000. Well, in Washington, acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is one step closer to getting that job full time. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted yesterday to advance his nomination after he put in writing that the Department of Justice is scrapping President Trump's proposed billion-dollar anti-weaponization fund. For more, let's bring in NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumback. Gary, good morning. So do we know when Blanche's nomination will head to the full Senate for a vote, and what do we expect it to see there?
So we expect the vote to happen on Friday or Saturday later this week for sure, where the Senate holds 53 Republicans in the Senate. They're going to need almost every single one of those votes. And Senator Susan Collins has already said she will not vote for Todd Blanche to be the next Attorney General. She's upset about a number of things, from that IRS settlement to the fact that he's blocking abortion pills from being mailed using the U.S. Postal Service, to the attempted indictments of Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin over that military orders video. So a number of reasons she's not happy. So this becomes a real numbers game for Republicans in the Senate. They need everyone to show up and they need everyone to vote. And that becomes an issue because of people like Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, who hasn't been seen in the United States Senate in months because of that medical incident he suffered from several months ago. Savannah.
Gary, let's also talk about what was sort of this big stumbling block here, because Democrats do still seem skeptical that Blanche will keep his word about dismantling the anti-weaponization fund, even after this was put in writing. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin said the letter is totally unenforceable, were his words. I mean, is there anything preventing Blanche from reversing the course on this after he were to take office, in theory?
The short answer here is no, other than the fact that he said he wouldn't reverse course on this, and he said the weaponization fund is dead. But the original agreement was signed by President Trump's personal lawyers, was signed by the Trump Organization, was signed by the IRS, and was signed by the Department of Justice. The new agreement, the one that made Cornyn and Tillis so pleased here and got them to a yes vote, was signed only by Todd Blanche. And that legally does actually have effect, because Todd Blanche could absolutely effectively unsign the order, and then the weaponization fund is not as dead as he says it is, and as the president wants it clearly to continue. Here, Savannah.
Gary, I want to switch gears here, ask you about another piece of news out of D.C. This is about embattled Ohio Representative Max Miller. We talked about him a little bit yesterday and sort of the behind-the-scenes family issues that are now spilling out into the public as he is seeking this election. He is asking the House Ethics Committee to investigate domestic abuse allegations made by his ex-wife during their custody battle in an effort, he says, to clear his name. So he's asking for them to investigate himself. How common is that for a member of Congress to ask for an investigation into themselves?
Yeah, this is a sad and messy personal situation between a sitting congressman, his ex-wife, who happens to be the daughter of a sitting U.S. senator here. Essentially, what Max Miller's doing here is he's calling the cops on himself, right? He's asking for this investigation from the House Ethics Committee, and they've taken him up on this offer. They say they're going to investigate the allegations of domestic abuse, the allegations of potential drug use by Congressman Max Miller. But this is actually something that could take weeks, if not months, to actually come to a conclusion here, Savannah.
And would the outcome carry any real weight either way?
So this is going to be a recommendation. The House Ethics Committee investigates members of Congress all the time who have financial wrongdoings or, in this case, domestic assault allegations, and they will offer the idea to censure him, perhaps, or suggest that perhaps he leave his seat. But they don't have any real binding effect here for the U.S. Congress. Certainly, it would be a slap on the wrist if they were to say he did something wrong here. But it's not like they can go to the police and actually suggest criminal charges to that effect.
All right, Gary, thank you so much. Well, in financial news, U.S. stock markets rallied to records on Tuesday. Both the Dow Jones and S&P 500 closed at new all-time highs, thanks in part to solid corporate earnings reports. Also adding to the boost, falling oil prices driven by renewed optimism that a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz could be near. We have Investopedia editor-in-chief and chief business editor of People Inc., Caleb Silver, joining us now. Caleb, great to have you with us. Good morning. So tell us a little bit just about why this happened. I think we've seen so many ups and downs. Right now we're seeing it up. Why is that the case?
Yeah, stop me if you've heard this one before, but we really have gone through this pattern almost every weekend where there's hostilities going into the weekend, and then by Sunday we hear that there may be a deal. A deal may be near, the Strait of Hormuz may be open, and oil prices react to that. And when oil prices fall, like they fell yesterday and into the night before, you're going to get a big reaction in the stock market. You mentioned corporate earnings season. We're in the report card season for corporations. They are stacking profits on top of profits right now, and that's what investors want to see. So if oil prices are going to slow down and reduce a little bit, we're going to see gas prices fall eventually, and maybe inflation will cool, and this is how investors reacted. Expect more record highs today.
You do expect this to continue today. What about the rest of the week?
Well, it depends on what we hear and what happens in the Strait of Hormuz. There's so many headlines coming out of Iran right now. It's really a question of how long these oil prices are going to remain low. Are they going to remain low through the fall? And when you look at oil, it's a commodity that trades into the future. I look at oil prices today at $75 a barrel. In November, they're priced at $73 a barrel. So the expectation is oil prices will come down, gas prices will come down, bringing inflation with it. That's good news for the stock market, and investors have been waiting for more good news to keep buying. They got it yesterday.
Let's talk about the gas prices piece of it and how Americans at home really feel this. So let's say, which, by the way, it doesn't seem likely necessarily that today we're going to get this deal on the Strait of Hormuz, and even when we do, that immediately the traffic goes back to where it was prior to this war starting. But let's just say we get to that point. How long from then until when actual gas prices at the pump go back down?
Good question. AAA gas prices right now, $4.08 across the country. A year ago, they were $3.16. So we got a long way to go before that even happens. So gas prices, oil prices tend to shoot up like a rocket and fall like a feather. It takes a long time for the supply chain to react to these lower oil prices. So I wouldn't expect gas prices to be lower until the fall. We're also in the busiest driving season of the year, the summer driving season. So gas prices are naturally elevated. It's going to take a little while.
I do want to get your take on one other thing, another piece of news before we let you go, Caleb. So this is about this ongoing saga involving the Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery merger, because now a judge has set the date for the start of the merger's antitrust trial, which we have to go through for them to even merge, for March 2027. That is a lot later than these companies would have been hoping for, than Paramount would have wanted. And here's the real kicker, is that it means that they're going to be forced to pay what's called a ticking fee during that time. What does that mean? How much money are we talking?
Yeah, great Investopedia term, ticking fee. That means if this deal takes longer to close than expected, then Paramount has to pay Warner a ticking fee that amounts to $650 million a quarter, $7 million a day, or 1 quarter per share. So that's just because of the delay, and there's nothing they can do about it. They're going to have to pay this fee. If the deal doesn't go through, it's a $7 billion breakup fee. Breaking up isn't hard to do when you get these massive media mergers, and right now the lawyers are making a lot of money as this trial now moves all the way until next spring.
Wow. So even if the merger's blocked,
even if the merger is blocked, a huge payout for Warner Brothers shareholders.
All right, wow. All right, Caleb, thank you so much. Well, more than 20 states are suing the Trump administration over its latest efforts to restrict certain federal benefits programs. The plaintiffs, led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, filed the lawsuit on Monday in a federal court in Washington. They are trying to block a policy change that's set to take effect next week that would require sensitive personal information like recipients' immigration status and social security numbers to be shared with some government agencies and potentially some private entities in order for states to receive funding. This centers around the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, which provides more than $16 billion in grants to all states, D.C., and tribal government each year. It's used to help low-income families make ends meet by offering cash assistance, job training, food aid, child care subsidies, or even emergency housing. For more on this lawsuit, we've got our friend, NBC News legal analyst Danny Saval is here. Danny, good morning. So first, just help us to understand what the states are arguing here and how strong that argument is.
There are really four main arguments. First, that the executive branch exceeded the authority given to it under this particular statute. Second, there are all these privacy laws, many different privacy laws, that prevent the government from doing exactly this. Third, and this is a very popular ground nowadays, the Administrative Procedures Act, that even if this was lawful, the procedures were not followed. And then finally, the argument of the spending clause. That's a constitutional argument, and it's essentially that when the states agreed to accept this money long ago, these conditions were not attached to it. So, in other words, the states never agreed to this under the Constitution's spending clause, which does allow the federal government to control states, but not directly control them, instead to dangle money in front of them and say, hey, if you want this federal money, you got to do what we want.
So basically, the federal government, it sort of depends on those things that you're saying in order for them to be able to do that. Well, the lawsuit also claims that if families are worried about this data sharing, then they're less likely to sign up for aid that they would be qualified for. But if less people sign up for the federal program, how does that end up impacting the states and local communities?
Yeah, saying there's a chilling effect isn't just about the human story. It's not just a bid for sympathy. It's actually what gets the states into court. And that's because of the constitutional requirement of standing. They need to have an actual harm. So, for example, the states are going to argue that by taking away this money, that shifts the burden on helping these people to the states, and they may not have the money. They may have to go to different budget areas to make that money up. And that, for example, would be the harm that a party needs. Any party, not just the states, any person who sues in court, they need to have an actual injury. And that's what the states are going to claim is going to be their injury.
This policy change is scheduled to take effect on August 11th. Does that still move forward, or what happens next year?
Normally, the filing of a complaint in court doesn't stop anything. You're going to need some kind of order from the court that is an injunction or a temporary restraining order. So look for that in the coming days. But the mere filing of a complaint won't stop anything. They have to go, the states have to go that extra step and ask for relief from the court. And they're going to have to show irreparable, immediate harm.
All right, Danny Savalos, thank you so much. Well, out west, fire crews in Washington state and California are racing to try and contain several major wildfires. Northern California's Calaveras County has declared a state of emergency and is expanding evacuation zones in the face of the rapidly spreading Gan fire. Meanwhile, in Washington state, Aaron Farnacci, the man charged with starting one of the Spokane wildfires that has destroyed hundreds of homes, is being held on a $1 million bond and has not yet entered a plea. NBC News national correspondent Morgan Chesky is on the ground in Spokane with the latest.
The man authorities say is responsible for the most destructive fire in Spokane, Washington's history, under arrest and in court.
Yes, Your Honor.
The sheriff releasing this image of officers arresting Aaron Farnacci, tying the 37-year-old to the Old Trails fire, which aerial footage shows decimated entire neighborhoods and turned hundreds of homes to ash.
He was found to be in possession of some waterproof matches and a butane lighter.
Farnacci has a prior conviction of manslaughter, found guilty in Arizona for killing his own father in 2010. Released from prison 6 years ago, he's now being held on a $1 million bond, charged with one count of first-degree arson. The Spokane fires forcing nearly 70,000 people to evacuate, many of them taking refuge at the city's convention center, including Jocelyn Beaumont, who says the flames are now walking distance from her home.
We're waiting to see where the fire is going. I understood that the wind had changed. North, it's going to hit us. South, it's going to go back over itself.
We met the Andersons.
That's our house.
Who lost their home. We met their daughter, Lindsay Sabo, her husband, Chris, and 2 children, Colin and little sister Leah.
Well, my friend's house burnt down, so that was more memories.
The Sabos telling us they just paid off their home 5 weeks ago.
All of our things are gone. We have nothing.
It, too, like her parents' home, reduced to rubble. To hear all of this may have been the work of an arsonist.
Yeah, I mean, I think to say we're mad and upset are a vast understatement.
It feels impossible that one person could cause this much damage to people and to property and to a community.
As Fernacci remains in police custody, investigators did say that upon initially being apprehended, he denied having anything to do with these fires. However, he is yet to issue a formal plea. That is anticipated to take place on Thursday when he's set to have his arraignment. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Morgan, thank you so much. We've got more details on what crews can expect as they battle wildfires and these above average temperatures in the Northwest with your Morning News Now weather. Angie Lastman joins us here in studio. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi there, Savannah. Good morning. We've got kind of an unfortunate situation happening across parts of the Pacific Northwest and not a lot of relief in sight, at least in the short term. Let's show you exactly where those wildfires are right now across parts of Washington. You can see there's Spokane there. Just to the north and west, you can see the Autumn Lane fire, Fairview fire, and the Old Trails fire. 0% containment. The winds are light today, so that's, of course, a positive there, but we could still see widespread smoke impacting folks. I'll show you that air quality issue here in a moment. And when you zoom out and take a bigger look at exactly where all those wildfires are burning, you can see much of the Pacific Northwest, parts of the Rockies, stretching into the plains, a whole lot happening when it comes to our wildfire season, and it doesn't look like we've got a whole lot of relief. Notice this wildfire smoke kind of even as we get into the end of our work week, fairly dense in some of these spots. So air quality is going to suffer, especially if you live in the Pacific Northwest, as it already has been quite bad over the past couple of days. We're still going to see that same kind of situation. Unhealthy for sensitive groups and unhealthy. We're in both of those air quality index categories across places like Baker City, Quincy. Notice Burns and Spokane still unhealthy for sensitive groups. So those same kind of, the same kind of advice that we've been offering over the past couple of days, you're going to want to do again. Anywhere where you can be indoors, air purifiers, air conditioning is going to be your best bet. Temperature-wise, 29 million people are under these heat alerts. A lot of the same spots that we've been dealing with, again, for the extended period. We've got that up across parts of the west with temperatures surging yet again into the triple digits, especially across the southwest today. 111 in Palm Springs, Bakersfield and Fresno, Utah about 100 plus, 112 for Las Vegas. These numbers are above where they should be for this time of year. Of course, it is summer, but still 107 in Medford today. That's 16 degrees above our average temperature for this time of year. We've got the 90s in Eugene and in Portland. We've got 104 for Reading. So again, not a lot of relief when it comes to our temperatures across this region as well. This will be something that we likely see stay with us at least for the extended period. Along with the Rockies, we go from temperatures into the 90s on Thursday in Salt Lake City to 100 plus by Friday and Saturday. Those are actual temperatures. Casper, you're into the high 90s. Not a lot of relief. It'll feel very summer-like and above normal across those areas for at least the next couple of days. Meanwhile, we've got 9 million people under flood alerts, just a little section of parts of Missouri and Iowa and Illinois, as well as Washington, D.C. included in those, as we gear up for some more rain today, thanks to this cold front that's been kind of sliding across the Midwest. We'll see some gusty storms with this. We'll see some spotty showers ahead of it across parts of the Appalachians. Might need your umbrella there, but the severe risk is going to be kind of on the low end, especially as we get into tomorrow, but we'll still be watching for that rain to impact any plans that you might have across parts of the Northeast as that cold front kind of slides into that area. So we'll keep the heavy rain in the picture and the heaviest of it centered across parts of the Midwest, 1 inch to 3 inches. Mostly we're looking at places across Missouri that we'll see kind of that highest amounts of rainfall. So we could see some localized flooding across those regions over the next couple of days. Savannah.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.